just wanted to thank Oscar for coming tonight.
Thank you.
I first heard Oscar when he did a presentation for CNPS for statewide presentation as part of their series Naturehood they do once a month. And he is a landscape designer and land manager. He lives locally, lives in Sebastopol, and he's been involved with starting several gardens as well as doing a lot of landscaping. And I think you also mentioned to me that you did training for the landscaping program for CNPS as well, right?
That is correct. Yes. Yeah. It's our second year that we do the training on certification for Spanish speaker landscapers. So we give them a toolkit that was put together by CNPS through the state. And we go through Zoom classes, just like you guys sit down for 8 hours. All of our booklets are in Spanish with the language required to understand 80 plants. And then we get them through our last class where we do a workshop. So far, I think we count about 25 graduates that have their certificate. So it's a program that is working, and we really have to be empowering those folks because they know their plants. It's just sometimes there's a language that hasn't been bridged, and I think CNPS did great by bridging that together. So yeah.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
So tonight he's going to talk about a couple of things that we didn't bill, I think, in our description. But take it away, Oscar.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh my God. Thank
tonight.
you. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so thrilled to be here. I live literally about 8 miles towards the west. I'm going to speak to the computer because there's a screen, but I'm going to keep my eyes on you guys. Is that okay? There we go. Cool. So let me start with this. I migrated from Mexico almost 30 years ago. I grew up in Mexico City, and Mexico City is an urban setting with a lot of concrete, a lot of asphalt, and not that many trees, certain areas. Specifically, the neighborhood that I grew up was mostly known by street dogs, cars, and very few trees. So when we moved, my family entirely moved to California in the year 1995, December 14, I encountered the beauty of West Marin. My first job was working at a Pon Reyes Cafe. And an entity to get to know trees that they look like monsters. It was cold, it was misty, it was mysterious. It was literally being dropped from the city to fairy tale. And I was scared because I didn't know what trees there were. I was scared, why are people biking through the fog? They don't know what's ahead of them. I was afraid of not understanding the landscape. So it took me almost 30 years to find out that I really loved that part of me, to be questioning what is nature to us and how nature fit on our everyday lives. And through that process, I was involved into working doing landscaping with my father. First of all, just as a side gig, getting some money on the weekends. Later on, I realized that I fell in love with biology, and I started learning biology, terminology, botany. I was able to transfer to Sonoma State, where I did a conservation restoration bachelor's, and fell in love with urban planning because cities are much better when they take into account the community of plants, right? As we know, or how to reintroduce them back. During that period, it was a beautiful time in my life. I'm still married. I have 2 beautiful children, and I lived for 5 years at the California School of Herbal Studies. And that allowed me to have an intimate relationship to plants from around the world that are mentors to our lives, that help us grow, that help us feel better and healthier. Through that process, I eventually decided, well, I have to do something with my life. I can either keep pulling weeds, or I can start changing and designing the world in a way that is more ecological, in a way that is less work. And through that process, I started using native plants in my landscapes. And that was when I was doing a lot of the work as a private contractor. Later on, I joined the public service, and I joined the public service working for the city of Sausalito. That moment in life was very important to me because it came after helping the local rancheria, Greater Rancheria, establish a 5-acre food farm just adjacent to the Roanoke Park Casino, where I put together integrated pest management, water use, and food forests. And I was curious. I'm like, how come cities are still don't have native plants? What are cities looking square? What are mostly hedges? Where there's no life in the cities. So faster moving 6 years later, if you ever had an opportunity to go to Sausalito and visit the town, you will recognize that the weather is a unique weather for the state of California. It mostly stays in the 65 to 68, 90% of the time. The humidity is very low, but it's still present. It barely freezes. And just the face of the ridge that faces towards the east provides enough sunlight. There's enough fog that creates an oasis for plants to thrive. I fell in love with it. I said, wow, let's start bringing some native plants. Let's start doing less boxwood hedges, and let's just rewild Sausalito, right? Little did my supervisor knew that this was my mission, right? So I kept myself very short, is bringing my shovel, bringing my wheelbarrow, bringing my allied plants, little by little, little cuts, little pieces. And as I was removing ivy, as I was removing unwanted vegetation, bringing cardboard, I started rewilding it. And I became so aware that little changes through the year can make a big difference. And this is where I am now, working and being in front of you guys to tell you a little bit that that's what makes me go every day, is seeing the plants grow, thrive, and transform the life of others and society. So without further ado, we have about 14 slides that I want to share with you with different techniques, lessons I learned through the process. And let me start moving forward. This is a downtown Sausalito. This is Plaza de Cascade. The landscape architect who designed this brought in 70 exotic plants to the landscape. Now, exotic plants, as you know, they don't understand the soil of California. They can live in that soil. But the biggest issue here, it was that there was no integrated pest management. So slowly but surely, we start having pests moving in. And I actuated by saying, let's bring in some of the building yarrows, ground covers, wildflower seeds, to start inviting more biodiversity to help us not only make this park look better, but have some color, but also have these beneficial insects. So even by adding wildflowers to a park that may have 80 or 90% of exotics, you can definitely improve its biodiversity by a big chance. I'm gonna go ahead and, I can change. Yeah. Hold on a second. I'm stuck on slide 1. I wanna see if I can move to the next slide, but sorry guys. Are you? Well, you know what? Will you make me the primary host? Thank you. I like to share, but I think I have to be greedy here. Oh, okay. Stop share. So you do that for me? No, let me escape. There's my, okay, I see. Let me do this. Now I see you guys. Let me mix it back. Share. My screen. Okay. Sorry guys, it's been having my computer. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, so it makes me rethink about the use of lawns for 2 reasons. It takes resources. It takes definitely. Do you mind? How can I give that a little your screen sharing a little? Let's see. I need some assistance here while I do this. Will you help me on this? Yeah, thank you. What do I mean? Let us rethink our lawns. When I realized how much time you have to spend mowing a lawn, watering a lawn, adding irrigation, fertilizer, adding not only that aeration, pulling weeds to get a monocrop, I realized that I was having endless hours just to keep a lawn green, right? So my first intuition about changing the mindset of folks to rethink wildflowers and native plants was to reuse the space as a conservation corridor, right? And my strategy was to always tell them, well, we're not going to retire the lawn. We're just going to make the area more attractive. We're going to create no more adding chemical inputs into the watershed, right? Because we're next to the bay. We're also going to avoid using any type of process, which we don't use. But the amount of cost that we're going to use to turn it into a native garden will be more cost effective. Because instead of mowing every week, we'll actually be able to see plants grow that they require less pruning. I also mentioned that during times of drought that we experienced, there was a lot of opportunities to turn lawn into opportunity to get a rebate from the water agencies. And most importantly, no matter how effective these sprinklers were, we can conserve and restore native habitat by just replacing or rethinking those lawns. So if one of your friends, your HOA still has the idea to keep a lawn green, this is a great time to bring them in to the year 2024 and tell them, there's an opportunity to retire that lawn into something that is more ecologically friendly. Oh, no worries. Let's see. Sorry, I think this is the way we're gonna go through. And what that takes, it's scope of work. If you have a house in Santa Rosa, if you have a house in Sebastopol, you may measure that your yard is about 20 feet by 30 feet, right? You got it, 500 square feet. Sometimes when you have larger areas, they're still doable. You can do a change into retire your lawn, but you have to make sure you get the right conception of space. So for that, I use several things. I use a strategy in which I measure the square footage of that area. I definitely make sure we have the right irrigation retrofitted parts, because when we placed down lawns many years ago, thinking we're going to have the sprayer, we're going to have the lawn, we have PVC lines buried underneath us. So there's a network already there that could be easily retrofit to help us reestablish our native plants. And I think the fun part when we think about this scope of work, a healthier ecological system, is to think that we can do it in a 2 to 3 year time. It doesn't have to be 10 or 15 years. The part that is very creative is that we can definitely use research on native plants by using our local chapters. I think there's also Calscape. If one of you guys have the opportunity to just spend 1 or 2 hours, I spend 3 hours sometimes helping friends in California find the plants that are for their location, the amount of irrigation those plants require. As you know, you guys may know more about native plants, but I tell you what, the moment you start sharing that to friends and you get them invited, that's something that is very important, because not only you're confirming your commitment to the plants, but you're also helping a friend understand a language that has not probably been there from school. So it's a really great opportunity to help us. The following is that Calscape put in so much resource now that you can look at a design and talk to you about firescaping, can tell you about what a specific location you live, right? If you live in a location that is prone to coastal communities of plants, it will guide you to those specific plants. I think another opportunity that is important for us to think about retiring the lawns is to go to check local nurseries. Very close to here in Richmond, I presented material to the Ennis Annuals, which it was an amazing nursery that had beautiful. Yes, I know it closed down. Actually, this presentation, I did it in spring for them. And it was a group just like this. Yeah, let's retire a lawn, let's get the plants. But I said, if you connect with your local nursery or your local CNPS chapter, you'll get a lot of tools, because they'll let you know your soil, they'll let you know when is the right time to plant. And especially network, as you know, a lot of the native plants, some of them can easily be propagated at the right time, as fall right now. I'm just gonna mention a few yarrows. California fuchsias are at the time. If you have a small garden, probably you can tell that your California fuchsia has taken over. So this is a great time to get those 1 gallon planters, start digging out and getting Christmas presents, right? Send them out to your friends. So it's a great opportunity to, when you become a designer, you're actually just moving plants around. You know, I have no landscape architects that design around the world, and I take them to a park. And what is that? What is that? The design, the form is one thing, but nature changes, just like our thoughts. It's always evolving. So nothing, the only constant is change. And I say, well, make me a lunch. You know, let's sit down here in the wildflowers. This is a spot for us to think. I don't want to be in your office. I love those drawings, but those are two-dimensional. Here's the real life. So, and that helps them ground, and it also helps me hear them better because they're lacking that experience. So I just want to let you know that the place of privilege of do what I do is helpful. It's helping me become actually a better person too, because I tend to be not so biased. I'd be like, I'll meet you for lunch here. And then I don't want to talk about native plants. I want to talk about your problems, you know? So let's have the opportunity to talk to folks who do this, that have experience. And we're not be experts, but at least we have some guidance. And Calscape has done a great job on helping us out. And what do we think natives? As you know, we make the mistake as in the past. This is me 25 years ago. I would go to Home Depot, go with my truck, show up. Oh yeah, I like the tree. I like this. I like the shrub. Let's get some petunias, some color, done. 5-10 more minutes inside, you pay, you go, you make some money. That's it. Nowadays, I think we can think better. We understand there's endemic species of trees that may not be obvious to the size of our backyards. There may be some trees that may like manzanitas or Coyrobuchos cyanotes that attract the right amount of pollinators to our yards. At the same time that we also understand that there's great ground covers that can use less water, that can be more benefic to wildlife instead of being sprayed with no monocots, but nicotoids. That's what it continues to be the practice out there. So it's really about the right plant size for the site. It may take time to find the particular plant that is required in front of your yard or in whatever you're replacing the lawn. But what's so important is that once you realize that you have the right information to create the right contrast, then you're besting on that plant's future. And that's gonna save you a lot of flipping. That's gonna save you a lot of headaches because you're slowly gonna understand the growth of that plant, the growth of that tree. You're gonna help the support to be its best and have the less interventions as possible and enjoy it. That's kind of where the headache is at because we want things immediate. We want not to see our neighbor. So this is a place where it requires a little bit of patience. The folly one, which is my best. This is what I like so much about it. It's getting dirty. This is a newest park that we have in Sausalito, Dunphy Park. It sits on top of what used to be a dump site. It's been remediated to some extent. But what you're seeing right now here, I did exactly the same technique. There was some dead grass. They wanted to turn it into a lawn. And I was like, you guys already got, the whole park is like 99% lawn. So I'm gonna be taking little chunks at a time. And so what I did is I make friends with a local company that delivers wood chips. And I said, well, you know, I don't want disease mulch. I want good quality mulch, and I can take as much as you want. So right on this batch for about 6 months, I prepare the site and remove as many weeds as possible. And I receive about 25 yards of mulch. I let it sit there for a while. In some areas, I needed to get some cardboard to really keep down some of the annuses that it was going to be very hard to dig out. But somehow it allowed me to slowly dream by using landscape flags, what kind of plants, and I kind of start making dimensions where these plants could go and where I could design a garden, a public landscape that I don't have to be pruning all the time, that I once a year and enjoy. And believe it or not, I learned so much by really being patient, by giving them their space, the true space for the plants to grow, to really stretch. And one thing that I also incorporated in these areas, it was rocks for lizards. It was also a place of water because during the drought, yes, we have lawns with sprinklers, but after the water evaporates, there's no place for a deer or small mammal to find water next to the bay. Most of it is a runoff. So getting dirty, getting to the site preparation, thinking how you want to develop that project is always very exciting. As you know now, we're waiting for the rainy season that starts in Halloween, goes all the way to April. So if you can get together your fellow friends, if you have already a site and you're gonna start thinking about getting the area prepared for planting, maybe in early spring, late winter, this is the time to start getting dirty. Some of the techniques I really help me do more effective work, and I would say the most preferential to me is to use the natural process of sheet mulching, which is building layers of soil, just like it would happen in nature. If you take a walk in Point Reyes, go back to it, I remember it was a different feeling walking on leaves. You feel the sponginess of the soil than if you walk on concrete because of the permeability. So mimicking how the forest works is kind of what we want to create on that sheet mulching effect. We want to get that little compost layer, we're going to get that cardboard, and we want to have at least 2 to 3 inches of mulch. Let that cook slowly. Let the first rain come in to help get that area activated with the right microorganisms before you start planting. Cardboard is free, mulch is free, and there's no delivery fee. So you're literally seeing a natural resource that you could be waiting for you to tap on, making a project be successful, add organic matter to a landscape that you may be tending. Yes.
How long do you let your mulch sit before you?
I love that. That's on the next question. Yeah. No, it's really good. I think I'm gonna just slide this and I'll show you. This is a tiny little project, and this has a lot of feeling to me because it was a coworker that passed, a younger guy, Martin. This is located behind the Bank of America. So we invested a lot of money on the front, rich way, and nothing on the back. And that was Martin's garden. And I said, Martin, when are you gonna plant something there? It's like, I don't have time. There's this plastic planter there and there's tons of weed. So I'm just gonna go with the weed eater. And I said, you know what, Martin, I'm gonna help you out. Unfortunately, time passed. He left work. We find out that he passed. And the moment he passed, it's like, I owe you this, Martin. I wanna turn this to your garden, Martin. And so I sent an email to my parks director. Hey, I have an idea. Oh, you don't have time for that. Whatever. I'll come on Friday. I'll be off, but I'll be there. So I did that. And interesting or not, I have some leftover manzanitas from the Downfoot project, and I have some native plants that I start clipping. So I should mulch the area first. It was highly compacted. But within 3 months after the rainy season, the mulch eventually was able to harvest a lot of the rainwater, really help it percolate, go through the layer of cardboard, and then deep down. So 3 months later, I was able to, no easy, because it's compaction takes time, but I was able to use a trenching shovel, at least to go 2 inches, not turn it over, just push it to the side, and then put plugs in of yarrows. And I added some non-native succulents because South Little has dog friendly. And what dogs do is they pee and they mark. And if they continue to pee on the manzanita, they're gonna kill it. But if they pee on the succulent, it's not gonna kill it. So I have a friend helping another friend, right? The succulent's gonna survive, keep some space for the manzanita until the manzanita comes out. And the following picture is literally 18 months later. 18 months later. So that's Martin Garden. It has some, this happened during COVID, where many of the nurseries were closed. Much of what came to my attention was that we either need to start propagating ourselves the plants, start sharing cuttings, because nature doesn't stop. We need to continue doing this on the best conditions. So it taught me a lesson to be more self-reliant. So I took some clippings from some Mexican savvy I found by the dam. I used some Salix babylonica, some weeping willow to make a tea to help propagate those root systems. And that didn't cost the city nothing. And it's a thriving place. So literally the only thing that sometimes matter is the willing to do it and wait for the right conditions to happen. So yes, that was July 2021. And of course, 2 years later, it was more lush. But by that time also, I didn't have to water that. You only have to water once a month during May, June, July, August, September, and that's it. But definitely, I think they truly love to native plants in my own personal journey has always been that they come to you no matter what. There's always someone handing you plants. There's a plant sale. There's a neighbor that has plants that have, it's growing too much, so you go help clipping, you propagate them at home. So somehow it's how plants end up your way. And because I'm in public service, a lot of the plant material that I get to trim is the material that I try to propagate. So it actually helps keeping a established species in the park within the conditions that are best for the plant. Here's a place that was sheet mulch, which it was cardboarded. It was first composted 1/4 inch cardboard, and then mulch for 2 to 3 inches. And I only let it rest 4 to 6 weeks. And then later on, what I did is I went in with a trenching shovel. The best you want to do, you want to start with 4-inch containers because that takes the less amount of material and labor to do it. But sometimes you stuck with 1 gallon. And 1 gallon is fine because that helps you calculate how much irrigation you want to put on those early years. 4-inch is also very a preferable size for that project. And it's been a journey. One another incredible part that I've been in my journey these past 2 years is the use of biochar. It came to my attention about 2 years when I was doing a webinar. The Sonoma Ecology Center was using biochar, which was taking biomass from the fires in Sonoma County and also from work in bigger parks in the East Bay. So they end up with tonnage of carbon logs. Now, they go through a process called carbonization. I'm not sure how that works out, but it ends up being this chart that is, if you look at it under a microscope, it's basically the skeleton of wood. It's highly porous. And my understanding in microbiology or soils biology is in order to host housing for those microbes, you need to have them at home. And you need to have moisture. So carbon helps actually hold moisture in the ground and also creates a housing for microbes. So I started using it in the last 1.5 years. I've been seeing great results. Again, it's a byproduct that comes out of our fires. And I think we need to also give the native plants a chance since we're seeing longer droughts. We also seen, I counted already in this year, 2024, 5 heat waves because I work outside, out 6 in the morning to 3:30, and then an hour commuting with my arm out in the sun. So I'm kind of tend to understand that we're living in strange times. And even though native plants by lecture and by the book says they're thriving low nutrients is one thing, but also we need to prepare them for the challenges of climate change in the urban setting. So this helps them a little bit, gives them a little boost. There's mixed thinking of it, but I'm having fun with it. So I hope you guys do too. Let's see. To when we do landscaping and transform the lawns, I tell students and I tell clients and coworkers, it's like, be patient. We have certain perennials and hardwood plants, right? That are gonna take 3 to 5 years to show their potential size. But what we can do is to help them fill in with wildflowers. So after we do the sheet mulching, right? We do a chicken scratch between the plants. And that's where the wildflowers that you guys have back there go in this time of the year, because that will help us have some color. That will call in the insects during the time that these perennial plants begin to grow. And they're very attractive. And also, one example, they help us break the soil. If you have a compacted soil adjacent to a parking lot, which we mostly do because that was the way it was built, the first plant we're going to buy are going to be California poppies because of their taproot, right? Those taproots go way deep down, and they're gonna come next year. And then when those roots integrate or break down, they're gonna create a pattern for water. So literally become an engineer of hydraulics by using our native plants. Okay. I don't want to go too much into this one, but it's interesting. I think some of you guys have some experience doing some irrigation. I have killed many native plants because I add too much water, because I overthink the watering system too much. But one thing I learned for sure is that the best way to irrigate your plants is very low pressure, long periods of time, very far apart in time. And for that, there's a couple of systems that are very helpful, the netafilm, and also just a regular polyvinyl tubing that can get retrofit to a sprinkler system that will reduce the pressure, and that will also deliver water when you need it, close to the root systems, not at the root. And those are very easy to navigate. There's plenty of literature. And yeah, I would say enjoy the garden grow as you go. It's really more than just a journey. I think it's showcase that as the human species that we are, our friends are our plants. I think that plants have helped me a lot on become a better human being, be more patient, be more compassionate, being very inclusive, and become a better listener, and enjoy sometimes the silence and hear the birds. And at the same time, has also helped me to go to rest when I need to rest. We're living in such a driven society that we want to see always progress. We want to see producing. And nature tell us, hey, relax, take back 2 steps, go to sleep early. I'm not ready to germinate, the conditions are not there. And that helps us also become regenerative in our own self. So. And I can take questions. Yes, Wendy.
All right, thank you, Oscar. So does anyone have any questions?
The question from Zoom.
There's a question from a Zoom participant that says, I understand that the bacteria that cause sudden oak death are spreading again, and taking soil or mulch that is not sanitized can do a lot of harm and spreading the Phytophthora. What is your experience?
Oh, good question. Great question. This is why having a good relationship with your local arborists. Arborists are trained in understanding what pruning needs to be done. They also understand how to treat material that's diseased and has pathogens. So that means recognize that you need to build that relationship about mulch, and who does and who you receive mulch from. And this is great because there's days that I require 10 yards of mulch to do a park, and I flag my friends, hey, park tree service, park, hey, Alfredo, I have broom and I have palm, and there's stuff that I'm just gonna go directly to the dump. So there's a question on where this material come from. Is this from a certified arborist? Who did the pruning? All those questions need to be done. But there's also to source your product, I will give a big hand of applause to West Marine Compost, located in Casio. They have a certified compost and certified composted mulch. Now they go through a rigorous process in which they measure every soil batch to see if they have the right microorganisms on it. So I will say, as questions, recognize where it's a localized state issue. You need to bring material from another country that's gotta make sure it comes clean. That will be a fresh start. Yeah. I hope that answers.
Do you have any other questions? Anyone else?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, hi, so how do you get biochar?
West Marine Compost.
Oh, so you can buy it from them?
Yes, you can guide it. And thank you for saying that. I do a couple of things when I plant native plants. I do cactus pads, nopales, right? The cactus pads. I shred it with a knife or machete and make little squares. And I add about 5% of that cactus pad. And I use about, if I have a 1 gallon plant, I would say I use 5 tablespoons of biochar and mix it. You don't need a lot, But what that helps, it helps establish that root system and microorganisms housing. Now the nopal has a mucilage. It's kind of this material that is very watery. It helps hold moisture in the ground. So that way you're working on building an ecosystem, right? You understand you're gonna take care of those plants, but in these times that we have 5 heat waves in a year, you're not gonna be out there watering the plants. You want a resilient ecosystem underneath. So that's, I think, where I see more that ecosystem being strong, and then see the plant thrive. So yeah, and everybody has difference. I think keeping your percentage of biochar by mass between 5 and 10%, you're good. But if you do that too much, you'll be wasting a product because only certain microorganisms can thrive in a location. So yeah, and try the cactus nopales. That will help out. Yeah. I square them and then build them around as I build back the soil around the plant roots.
Mix it in the soil?
Mhm.
Yeah, well,
They're not, no, because they're small pieces, but they're way deep. Yeah. Yeah.
Could you speak to, composting nutrients for our natives, because I have a tendency to love to feed my plants, and
Yeah.
I think I need to be talked out of that.
You know, this is how we love our plants, right? We either overwater them and we kill them. That was me. And I continue to do that because hydrozones, or the way, I also learned from landscape architects, believe it or not. Oh, what hydrozone is that? So I like to partner plants in communities of water needs and nutrient needs, right? And that already kind of helps me out. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna cover with mulch because I need the local bees to make room to stay down there. I need my lizards to move quick. I don't want rats to be building a nest underneath that. So sometimes you create these microzones and zones around your home. So you can have an area that is highly nutritional for this specific plant and then less nutritional on this end. So you have to kind of create your own biome around your home. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think I wouldn't treat the north of the house the same as the south of the house. There's difference in climates and nutrient value there. Yeah. Yes.
Another one here, yeah, we do a couple more on too.
Maybe I'll just read all of these at once. Please explain order of sheet mulching and how many inches each layer. And then there's another one, can you throw wildflower seeds on top of mulch? Are there plants that are foundational in creating a mini ecosystem, plants that help other plants thrive? Is Nopali's cactus soil amendment sold at nurseries?
That's from your neighbor. You just borrow a pot from it. Yeah.
I haven't seen any penstemon in the photos. Is there any reason?
Yeah.
Can you keep all those questions in mind?
Yes, I do one thing. What was the first one? Sorry.
Oh,
Sheet mulching. Yes, that's I mean, when COVID hit, remember how many Amazon cardboard boxes were out there? So I capitalized on those. My coworkers, if you hear me on this, they were laughing at my truck because it was all filled with cardboard. And they said, oh, Oscar is reselling the cardboard to make some money. It's like, no, I'm saving my back during the summer. And so it goes like this. If you have an area, let's see, a 20 by 10, full of just weeds, a few ivies, you use a weed whip, you break it all down, you keep it there, you don't rake it away. You throw in about 1/4 of an inch of organic compost. It doesn't have to be the best compost. It could be just a cheap compost that doesn't have a lot of nutrients. You just need those microbes to kind of be on the layer. Then you add cardboard and then 2.5 inches or 3 inches of arbor mulch. Now, when I mean arbor mulch, because arbor mulch has everything, the perfect diet for the soil, right? It has carbon, it has nitrogen, it has minerals from the branches. Now, it's gonna take time for that to break down to the cardboard, but you're not polluting because carbon is it comes from the carbon of a tree. So you're just putting that carbon back in there. At the same time that you're suppressing those weeds from coming, by the time the association with the native plants takes on. Now, if you already have mulched that area and let's think we did our job in May at my neighbor's house, right? And my neighbor's being impatient. I was like, oh, Oscar, I'm tired. I want to get these plants. And I said, okay, perfect. Now we have the mulch. If you're gonna start using wildflowers, just do a little chicken wire, throw compost and put your wildflowers and let those be. Because those flowers will germinate. The seed taproot will go through the cardboard, and you'll have the first stage of native plants. But if you take the cardboard, you may probably also tickle the unwanted vegetation that it will come through. And then you have a lot of weeding in between, and it's tedious. So sometimes you have to be patient and think like if you're just a chicken doing your little chicken run here and there, but you want to keep that cardboard. You want that to become decomposed. So, yeah.
And for wildflowers, people.
Preferably, you want to do compost and sand and wildflowers, because that sand keeps pushing against the compost, and that allows a little bit of water, a little bit of warmth, and then the compost doesn't just become heavy. You know, there's some medium in between where warmth can pass through. Yeah.
Plants that are foundational in creating a living ecosystem.
Woohoo.
Other plants grow.
Yeah, well, that would be like in the book back there, we're talking about the jays, the blue jays. They're incredible, right? These blue jays go and see a Carcus agrifolia, beautiful oak. Boom, pick up an acorn, goes flies a mile, finds the right location. So a tree in itself is fundamentally what will bring in the rest, the canopy for coyote bush to establish, for certain type of grasses to establish, and then what flowers. So I always think the tree, the shrub, and the ground cover. If you the tree and the wildflowers, then let the shrubs come in later. So that's how, yes.
So this year, we had a really strong infestation of the fallen wasp. And wasp, a lot of our live oaks lost a lot of leaves, way more than anyone did. I had a hedgerow with native plants.
Yeah.
And I was up there walking yesterday to kind of figure out how things are going. Am I okay leaving all those oak leaves on top of the plants, or should I kind of push them away?
That's a good question, and I don't think I have the answer for you there. But what you're doing is great. You have an endemic tree, right? That is stressed, but it has a family that supports it. So that supportive family is gonna invite the right intervertebrates to live there, patrol the area, keep things moving. So be observational, make some notes, maybe call a friend who's an arborist. Sometimes paying a couple of $100 for somebody who's professional to show up and like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, can be peace of mind. Because yeah, yes.
And they're all doing beautifully.
Yeah.
They all have refoliated and
Yeah.
Even the one I was like.
Yeah. Yes. And you know, mostly the native plants, they shed their own mulch, right?
Yeah.
So, but we're talking about urban settings and mostly highly compacted soil. So you're out. I would say keep a journal and see how things are, take pictures. I think that'll be your own journey, but definitely I don't think I have the knowledge to give you an answer. But keep building the biodiversity around them.
Yeah.
Keep bringing their relatives. Yeah. Great. Yes.
What do you think about shaping and pruning the plants?
Depending, there's formational trimming to give form because of obvious reasons. An accident of one example is ceanothus, right? You have a beautiful ceanothus and it's a shrub that started small, it's 4 feet tall, right? But somehow it's next to your sidewalk, and you keep going by it, and then somebody goes with a wheelbarrow and breaks a branch. Then you have to be a corrective pruning, right? So you're gonna have to do a corrective pruning because probably the plant is too close to this sidewalk. So, or if something would happen to that plant, I would say try to be pruned at the right time after flowering, but then save yourself for the renewed growth and see where that growth goes. Because when you prune native plants, they kind of look for sunlight on their own. You see what I'm saying? They're slow growers. They're not, my mindset is still ornamental, but I had to go with my history and get it all boxy because that's what it's there. That's what the architecture of a park. I'm not gonna change that. But if I can add, instead of a boxwood, one example, a coffee berry, that coffee berry is looking beautiful and I don't have to prune it in the whole year. It has the same shape. So sometimes think that native plants have their own shape. And if you're gonna do an intervention, just do it cautiously and observe it, you know? It's more an experimentation, actually. But yeah, enjoy them for how they grow. But yeah, the more response you see, the better of a pruner you become actually, because you see, oh yeah, I did this. Oh, look, oh, I do this. So it's a relationship. It will give you more information, I think. Yeah. Yes.
She needs to say something.
Yes, Darlene, I hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Well, I just want clarification
Yes.
because I'm not sure. So the cactus you're talking
Yeah.
about, the big cactus, and then it gets the paddles like this.
Mhm.
And this is what you're talking about, taking it off,
A path.
shredding it or cutting it,
Yes.
and then can I
Mix it.
set it around the plant? Do I dig it? Do you?
So imagine I'm gonna plant a coffee berry, right? A 1 gallon coffee berry. So I dig a hole twice as long, as big, right? The depth. I amend 5% compost, 20 tablespoons of biochar, and half of a cactus pad.
Oh, pieces in.
Yeah, pieces, yeah.
And then.
Inside there,
cover
mix it.
over.
Because what eventually it's gonna hold moisture for the first couple of years or months until its establishment. Now I use cactus mostly in spring and summer when I plant. I don't do it mostly in winter, but it's a tool that helps me. I mean, I have slopes in Fairfax for clients that I know for decades, and they don't work in there or they have lost trees for whatever the reason. But we have long slopes, and the only way for helping water to stay there, dialing the irrigation, dialing in the right plant, the right location, is to have cactus, because only through that process I know there's moisture there for them as a bank.
So in the spring, can I get a paddle of it, cut it up, and then dig around it and put it in?
Yeah, I will definitely try it. Like I say, it helps me so I don't have to drive back. And I know that I put this intention on the plant. It has a mass. It has a possibility to survive better. I think the answer here is to how can I prepare my plants to see harsh summers that are native? Not because they're native, I mean they grew in a nursery. They grew on medium. They don't know soil.
Yeah.
They don't know what minerals are there. They don't know what compactation. So the more I can provide them a little bit of head start, and then I pull away, it's better.
Those cactus plants.
Yeah.
I want to say the name of it, whatever.
No, nopales.
The what?
Latin name is Opuntia.
Yeah.
Prickly pear.
Prickly pear,
pear,
yes.
Thank you, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted. Prickly pear, and that plant, you can, besides eating it, eating the little fruits, eating the petals,
Mhm.
does so much. Now with gardening.
Yeah.
I'm amazed, and I just had someone say, oh, I would never have that plant. Boy, if I can remember who's told me that, I'm gonna say, you don't understand what you have there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I came to this because during the drought that we had, I still got projects that happened. And I said, I was stretching my head and I was like, go back 200 years ago, go back 300 years ago. How did the native folks in Mexico survive? What tools did they use? What's the traditional ecological knowledge? Boom, there was the cactus. And I said, boom, what, And then later on, I know that a larger company is implementing a similar product to sell. So it'll come to you one way or another. You can either grab it for free or pay bribe you. So, yeah. Yes.
Do you ever use soil tests?
Because most of the parks are in urban settings, it goes to that has to go, they do sampling for blah, 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 yes. And they're boring because they only want to see certain things, but it's easy to use your water jar in your own home and have fun seeing organic matter. Do I have silt? What's my clay? And you can go on the website, US Geological Service, and it gives you more about what your specific soil is. And if you have a lot of clay or if you have a lot of soil, at organic matter, you'll get a midway there. So yeah, keep adding compost, but yeah, some plants just don't give them too much love. A little bit, yeah. Yes. All right.
Have you also noticed this year with native plants not doing as well because of all the food?
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of them that they pulled it up. It happens.
And in fact, when you talked about pruning back there, yes, if you see a plant that is not coming back, especially after this heat wave, the last one that was brutal, go ahead and help it. Because that dead material is just the plant, it's already sacrificing, pushing nutrients down. Once it come back, it doesn't want to really hold on to that dead tissue. You help it, so it has a come back somewhere. So it's
That's what I did.
yeah. That's what my mom will do. She just goes and, oh, mom, no. She's like, oh, I needed it. Okay, so yeah, so thank you.